Welcome everybody to PinstripeChronicles podcast. I am Tats. I am here with Donald and Rob, and we started talking about this at the end of yesterday's show, and I want to get into it a little more deeper. And with the new hiccup with the CBA negotiations between Manfred and Clark, is that the 20-year agreement for the drug testing policy is now expired, and they're going to now, on top of everything else, negotiate a new drug testing program. So do you think this is something that's really going to be a huge setback, or is this just going to be handled on its own aside from the CBA?
Probably on its own. I mean, everything's a setback at this point because nothing's happening. Like everything's just, they're not taking any steps forward. They're taking steps backwards every time they meet. So this just is more like bad icing on top of a bad cake. Really, it's like another being hit in the face with another dart. Basically, that's what MLB's been doing to the fans. Like, oh, guess what? We didn't give you Bonds and Clemens. Now we're also going to tell you that the drug agreement's been broken, and now players they're not going to be tested anymore for the steroids. It's just, I don't know. I'm almost like at a loss for words about how bad baseball's operated over the last couple of years, but especially these last 3 months. You just see how broken it really is. It's brutal.
Oh, it is funny that it is really funny that I'm glad you brought that up, because it's really funny that Clemens and Bonds have been ostracized for apparent steroid use, even though none of them have actually been tested to prove that they were on steroids at the time. But they're being ostracized and they're out of the Hall of Fame and blah blah blah. Yeah, they've not tested anybody in the last 20 years, or they've not tested anybody even in all this time. So exactly how much of a big deal is it if Hall of Fame guys can't get into the Hall of Fame because of steroids? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the agreement's expired and no one's getting tested anyway. So how big a deal is it? It's just optics again are lost on MLB.
Now, do you think that they would just re-implement the policy that expired on another 20-year plan? Because the agreement that they had with the 3 strikes you're out rule, that did work to an extent. You still have players that were testing, that are tested positive. Most recently, was the big name was Robbie Cano. So the drug policy did curb it back a lot with a lot of the suspicions of steroid use. Although we, like I said, we were seeing trickles of players that were still testing positive. So the policy that they had worked. So it would really be easier for, the players involved, the owners involved, and the Manfred, Clark, to just say, all right, let's just extend the current policy that we've had, because we did see a drastic decline in positive tests. Suspicions were down drastically. We always have fun as a fan to say, he's on something. There's no way, but we know that they're getting tested all the time.
I don't even know how you go about it, though. Like, the simple answer would be just, yeah, bring it back, but they can't agree on anything these days. So I don't even know if this is done through the players and the owners and another organization. I mean, it has to be whoever's doing the testing for them. I don't even know how it works, to be perfectly honest. It's just knowing that they can't agree on something simple like the universal DH. What makes you think they're going to come to a simple agreement for this? Like, everything's just been a bad fight the whole time. Like, again, like children. So that you would think that's a very simple thing. Let's just bring it back and we'll get that out of the way so we can continue with what we need to talk about. But no, it'll be used as more of some sort of bargaining chip in these arguments. So they're not even negotiations at this point; they're just arguments.
And that's sad. And these are all adults. These are all professionals. And yeah, allegedly. It's one of those, we've been saying it over and over again. Social media has been, whose side are you on? I'm on our side. I'm on the fan side. I just want baseball. You know, and that's really, it comes down, it's really that basic. Donald?
There's not a lot to add. I mean, listen, what is there to talk about? This is a disgrace. It's a disgraceful situation. As fans of a sport, they're just we're not privy to negotiations, so we don't really know how much of a factor this is in future negotiations. We just have to wait and see. Manfred's due to talk tomorrow. What do you think he's going to be saying tomorrow? Do you think he's going to be? Is he going to resign? I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really bad at this. Someone else is going to have to take over. Or do you think he's going to come out and like say what is going on and how they're going to try and fix this? What do you think? What do you think he's going to say tomorrow?
I have a scenario in my head of how that's going to go. It's going to be that half-baked scene when when he quits the fast food place. You know, screw you, screw you, screw you. You're cool. I'm out. And that's going to be the whole press conference. I don't think he's going to give us anything that gives us hope that there's a solution in place.
You think he's going to read out a statement? You think he'll read out a statement or something?
Remember that letter? That letter they put out when this whole thing started, like we urged the players to meet with us and blah, blah, blah. When the lockout first began, they put out that half-assed letter from the commissioner. Yeah. He's probably just going to rehash that, give us a whole lot of nothing. Because trusting Rob Manfred to give you any sort of good information is a bad idea. You know, it's like you go to a freaking, I don't know, you go to like the worst rated pizza parlor and you're trying to get like grade A pizza. You know, it's a stupid comparison, but like you want good stuff and you're going to get bad stuff. You can't expect anything out of Rob Manfred. He's a piece of garbage. So what do you think we're going to get out of him? He's just going to blame the players the whole time. We're doing everything we can. They're not. And then Tony Clark's going to respond to that saying, no, you're doing everything, or we're doing everything we can and you're not. And then we're going to have another 2 weeks. And then once they start losing money, then you're going to see that. Because spring training's coming in like what, 2 weeks? Pitchers and catchers are supposed to report.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the 17th of February. There's pitchers and catchers around there.
We're right around the corner. Yeah. That's less than 10 days away, guys. Like we thought this could be over by like some point in January. We're approaching spring training, and they're not even close. They're not even close. Think about that for a second. Like we thought maybe some progress at least. There's been zero progress. That's
exactly it, man. Yeah. This is where we're going to be. It's only going to be when the owners start feeling the financial pinch. It's all about the money. So if there's a threat of losing games and revenue, television revenue, the local sports network revenue, in our instance, yes, or any of those ones, then that is when the owners will maybe start feeling a little bit more urgency. But as you say, I pretty much believe that Manfred's going to do a statement where it's all going to be the players aren't doing their bit, and then we'll get a retort from Clark, and it'll be the same thing, because that was exactly how the 60-game season played out. Remember that? It was one side saying it was all the other person's fault, and the other side saying it was all the other person's fault. And then I just continued on. Occasionally we'd get players going on Twitter because that's where they knew that they could get their point across. The players can go on Twitter, go on social media and say, how hard done by they are, whatever, this is what we want. Manfred's not giving it to us or whatever. Because they know that the owners aren't going to be going on social media, unless, of course, it's the Mets owner. So maybe that'll make a change. But apart from that,
no one's been very quiet.
No owners are going to go on social media. So that's where the players can maybe get their point across. So the only time that the Manfred and the owners can get their point across is by a press conference. So that's what we're going to probably see tomorrow. I don't think it's going to change anything. As I say, it's been rejected, the idea of having a media, a guy that can talk about this. So from both sides and try and find a mediator to discuss the situation. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's kind of as you were. Maybe when we get closer to spring training, or maybe when we start missing games in spring training, that's when we might get a little bit more urgency.
You know what they should do? They should do is just put Manfred and Clark in a cage, and have them fight it out to the death, Karate Kid style. And then whoever comes out on top and gives the old honk at the end, like when Daniel did it to Chosen, and then that side wins, and they get their way, and we get baseball. Because it's better than what we're getting right now, right?
Well, kind of like Cobra Kai,
Karate Kid Part 2.
Karate Kid Part 2. Okay,
Yeah.
but like the Japanese guy when they were
Live
in
or
Japan.
die, man, and he does like this, and he like when Mr. Miyagi does it to Kreese, honk. The winner is going to do that. They're not going to kill each other. Obviously, we're not condoning that, but let them duke it out. One of them
entertainment at this point.
We're condoning violence, but they're going to come out of it alive. They're going to be okay at the end of it, and we're going to get baseball. So it's a win-win for everybody. Rob Manfred's going to be beat up. He's going to look terrible. Won't have to see his face. Same with Tony Clark, and baseball comes back. I think it's a win-win for
As
everybody.
Mr. Miyagi said in Karate Kid Part 2, this is no tournament. This is real life. So yeah.
There you go.
The other problem is that now you're hearing talks that the longer that the negotiations go, that there's a possibility of having another shortened season. And it hasn't gained a lot of traction, but it does make it interesting, and especially with the scenario of this whole battle between Manfred and Clark coming full circle, because the shortened season is what started, which is a big premise of their hostility towards each other. Do you think that
would it really suck if it was down to 150 games? I don't think it would necessarily make that much of a difference.
I don't think so either. I think it would be better because
it should be shorter than that anyway. It's too many gagames to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, I'm always rooting for more baseball, but the reality of it is, do we need interleague games aside from the cities that have the crosstown rivalries?
Well, they could severely cut down on the games and still keep interleague. Like 162 games is just unnecessary, especially when you see the first month or sometimes even more is spent as extended spring training. Look at the way Aaron Boone manages in April. I mean, he manages the same way throughout the year, but look at how heavily look how heavily he overmanages in April and May compared to, it's a little bit less in August and September, a little bit, but in April and May, you're like, is this spring training, or why is Montgomery pitching 5 really good innings and getting taken out? Oh, his pitch count was in the 80s. That's what you do in the spring. He does that in April and May. So do we really need that many games? No.
Yeah, giving Stanton a week off when he's like batting 1,000. He's red hot. We're going to give him an extra 3 or 4 days just to get him off his legs. We're 6 games into the year, Boone. Like, what are we doing here? And he does that. He did it all the way through the year, right into September. He's like, oh no, we're just getting them off their legs. It's a long season. Here we go. So yeah, I think the biggest issue for me is when baseball starts anyway, because in the East Coast, it's kind of cold at the start of April. The weather doesn't get much better until towards the end of April, and in May, that's when the weather starts getting better. So you're always going to get rainouts and things like that in the first couple of weeks of the year. I mean, the weather stinks, it's cold, and I mean, it's obviously different if you're in the West Coast or if you're down Florida area or the Texas area and stuff like that. But in the East Coast, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, it's pretty cold, man, in early April. So I would have the season a little bit shorter. If you chop it down to 150 games and you start towards the end of April, you would get a hell of a lot less rainouts, and it would be less kind of cold, and I think you get slightly better weather. That's where I'm sitting on it anyway. Because if for instance, Yankee Stadium doesn't have a roof, so there's or most stadiums don't have a roof, so why not make sure that you start a little later so that you're getting proper good weather through most of the year? makes sense to
Yeah,
limit
well,
the rainouts.
Yeah, that's why, earlier last season, we did a show talking about how opening day should be Jackie Robinson Day. Push it back. If you're going to cut games, do it in the early parts of the season, and have Jackie Robinson Day as opening day. Yeah, so
it's a good idea. Really good idea.
it's a discussion worth bringing up again. So
how much would that forward from?
I think
when
it's
you normally
2 weeks.
Well,
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah,
it's not that far of a difference. I think is Jackie Robinson Day the 17th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
it's around that area though. It's like midway through April, so it's not
perfect.
like you're not losing too much time.
Yeah,
it's a perfect day when you think about it to start baseball. It's like we celebrate Jackie Robinson every year. Why not start baseball, the meaningful games, on one of the most meaningful days of the year? I mean, it makes too much sense that baseball won't do it. That's how much sense it makes. You get to shorten the season a little bit, not by too much.
yeah, April 15th.
April 15th. I was right around that area. So yeah, it's actually right in the middle of April. It's perfect. It's literally right in the middle of April. So yeah, just do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? But again, it makes too much sense that they won't do it. In fact, if they had that discussion, we'd probably get another 2 months of lockout. So maybe we shouldn't even pitch that idea. I don't know.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we really need to pitch moving forward, because the start of April, as I say, the weather sucks for half the country. So let's move it up, because middle April onwards, that's when things start getting better. There's a little bit more sun, it gets a little warmer, and the players will perform better, because pitchers don't really like throwing in the cold for the most part. The affects velocity, so it kind of makes too much sense. And also, it's all about rainouts, man. So it costs fans money, it costs teams money if they haven't to constantly cancel games and things like that. So, or moving forward and having double headers and things like that. So I think a lot of that would be limited by just moving the season forward 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a great way to bring baseball back this season if they were able to put that, pull that off, which they won't, because it's too, it's too positive an optic for them to realize that this would actually work. And so the other thing, do you want to take away from, maybe start it the day before Jackie Robinson Day and have the second game, do you want to take away from the spectacle, not spectacle, but the appreciation of Jackie Robinson also, and blend it in with opening day? Would that take, would people feel like it was minimizing celebrating Jackie Robinson?
If you wanted to do where the first game of the year, one game, opening night, I guess, or whatever, it has to be daytime. Baseball is a daytime sport.
Yeah.
So maybe you have the Dodgers play. I mean, you want to have them play every single year on the first day of the season. I think every team should play on Jackie Robinson Day. That's something that we've talked about before. Every team should play. So why not? The entire league season starts on Jackie Robinson Day. And if you want to have some teams have the off day afterwards, and I guess fine for scheduling purposes, but every team should be playing regardless, because it doesn't make sense to celebrate Jackie Robinson Day the day after, because we see that happening when, this team's off, so they're going to celebrate the next day. It doesn't make sense. Just have every team play. And that's a perfect way to start the season. Everybody plays on day one, and then the season takes off from there. It's too good of an idea that won't get implemented because baseball's a joke.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, we talked about before, was the fact that there are, with teams not playing on Jackie Robinson Day, and then 2 days later they're doing it. The other day of the year that you should not be an off day is the 4th of July. Those are the two days that I would say that every team should be playing.
Yeah, Independence Day. That's a big baseball day too. It probably, to me, it's because of the scene from The Sandlot. But
yeah, exactly.
Those things. You think about baseball and you think about it's played during the day, but when you think about that scene, it's like, the fireworks lit up the sky, so you had light. It was an awesome scene for baseball fans. So yeah, I mean, 4th of July, Jackie Robinson Day. Yeah, those are important days for the sport. You want it to be America's pastime, but you don't want to play on America's birthday or have every team play. Like,
It's a great point because it's America's pastime, but every other sport has a day that you associate with that sport. So Thanksgiving is football. Thanksgiving is all about football.
Yeah,
Christmas Day
is basketball, right?
Christmas Day is basketball. So baseball doesn't really have a day. I guess it's July 4th, but not necessarily. And it's not necessarily Jackie Robinson Day either, because not all teams play on that day. So I think that it would make a lot more sense if you actually had a day that's synonymous with baseball, that you go, this is a baseball day. This is what we all look forward to, and that will get attendance up and get viewership up, because that's something that kind of dwindles. I mean, when you've got a 162 game season, how can you guarantee that you're going to get attendance on the third day of a series in April, when, to be honest, most of these games don't really count until you get into the summer? So you need to have a reason for attendance to be up and stuff like that. So if you got Jackie Robinson Day, that's something that they should really promote. Get the attendance up, get a sellout, get a full house, and it would certainly help baseball, because as I say, man.
Yeah, I got another idea.
They don't market this sport. They don't market the sport. They don't market the players in the sport, and they don't really have a day that is associated with the sport. And so, like, why do you think that people are moving on from baseball? People are moving on to basketball and football, and that's a lot of the reason is because they don't market the sport, and that ties in with what we've been talking about.
The other idea I have is for Veterans Day. Veterans Day, any veteran in their family, the veteran gets a free ticket, and the stadiums open their doors for veterans' families, to enjoy a day out and celebrate them. That's another idea I had. Yeah. So baseball could do a lot to improve its image in this country. And the way that they're sitting right now, they are not a good image at all. So, and who knows what we're going to hear from Manfred tomorrow. I'm dreading what he's going to say tomorrow, because he's just going to throw more fuel on the fire. I know it. I don't trust him at all to be able to bring an end to this madness.
You can't trust him at all. Like, he's an untrustable person. He's got that sneaky little face. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it today.
Yeah,
he's a weasel.
I'm not getting angry at him today. I'm not doing it. Can't do it.
I don't know. Every time I hear weasel, I think of Bobby Heenan. And so I don't want to call him a weasel, because that's he's not that good of an enemy.
Holy moly! So he's an insult to weasels.
Yeah, I wouldn't even put him in that category.
Damn, that's bad.
He's lower than that.
He's calling him a clown. Disrespectful to clowns. When you think about it, like, he's like the lowest of the low, But he's an entire organization of baseball. Everything is a bunch of clowns, but disrespectful to clowns.
All right. Well, we'll see.
It's a pretzel.
Pretzel.
It's lower than a pretzel.
Who likes pretzels anyway?
Very dry and salty.
Before we put a foot in our mouths, yeah.
Very salty. They're very salty. Pretzels are very salty.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, yeah, Manfred the pretzel. I like that one.
No flavor.
Dry and salty. He is very salty.
And they go stale very quick.
He looks like a dried up prune to begin with. So he dried up salty pretzel. There you go. That's Rob Manfred.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for us today. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check out our social media links in the description. Check us out on sportname.com/player and on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku. Hope you all have a good day. Stay safe, stay smart, wear your pinstripes with pride, and play hard.